Hello, everyone. It is your Resin 3D printing god, Akuma Mods, back again with a review of a resin printer. Yes, this is the Creality Halot Lite. Let's take a look. So yes, Creality sent us this. This is well, at the time I got it, was their answer to everybody that had an issue with the Creality Palette Sky, which is just out of sight here, because it was priced a little bit too high. And so Creality saw an opportunity to kind of, I don't really want to say dumb down, but at least make things more affordable for people to have a medium sized printer that is a Creality branded one. As you guys may or may not know, at the time that this launched, Creality had the Halot Sky, which was around $800 to $900, depending on where you were getting it from. So obviously, sales weren't that great for the Halot Sky, but that's because it was just a beast of a machine, and it had some major upgrades to it that most printers didn't, at least on the medium printer side, like your Elegoo Saturn, your Mono X, and so on and so forth. So Creality sought out to make a more budget-friendly machine to compete with the Mono X and the Elegoo Saturn models, and this is the result of it. So not only did they kind of slim down some things, make things a little bit cheaper, they also upgraded some more of the touch UI interface and kind of did some more updating with their Creality cloud service, which, to be in all honesty, I am kind of mixed reviews on their Creality cloud service. I understand where they're coming from with it, but it needs to be policed a little bit better in terms of models that are being offered up on there that are paid for models, and essentially they are being shared for free. This is a major issue that a lot of companies are dealing with right now. It's not just Creality Cloud. I mean, it's pretty much across the board with any place that you can get STL files. So, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, essentially, if you go onto, let's say, a Patreon and you pay a monthly fee to get files from a creator, and let's say even those files are not meant to be shared out in any way, shape, or form, unless they are bought directly from that person who is the designer. So someone like me can buy a file from a creator like that, upload it to the cloud service without even knowing exactly what I'm doing, and accidentally put it up there for completely free, license free, and everything because I want to print it on my printer wirelessly from my phone. So it's very simple to do. I can't really fault the end user, but it's kind of a two-way street. Like I said, there needs to be some more policing on it to understand that that is an issue. And thankfully, Creality does get pretty quick on things that happen like that. We have had a couple creators that had their files ended up on the Creality cloud, and thankfully Creality was pretty quick to take them down. So seems like they've gotten a little bit better over the time, but when this first initially had launched, wasn't the greatest of platforms. So hopefully, with more time comes and more refinements, that things will be a lot better. But again, still things are kind of in murky water, but not terribly. So anyway, let's talk a little bit more about the machine. So this is, like I said, the Creality Halot Lite, and basically, as I said, this is Creality's version of their budget-friendly medium-sized printer. So this is an 8.9-inch screen. It does have a 4K resolution, exactly the same as the Creality Halot Sky. And it does also offer a active carbon filtering system back here on the right. And, it does offer just a single Z linear access right here. So that's where they kind of cut down a little bit, made it a little bit slimmer, and kind of cut down on costs because If you guys do or do not know, metal is kind of costly in a lot of spaces, and even more so for linear rail systems. So anywhere that they can cut some costs, that's basically what they did. They did, however, keep the same vat design that they took from the Creality Halot Sky. So it is very nice. We do have a receive level, which is at 500 milliliters. So that's our basically our minimum that we want to try and keep. And then they also have their max fill line, which is 1,000 milliliters. So this vat actually holds quite a lot of resin, which is really, really nice if you're going to print larger items on it. You don't have to refill as often. So it's very, very nice to have that. Now the touch UI and everything, I currently have this off, but it is a very nice touch UI. It's probably one of the better ones that I've dealt with in the resin printing community. It is very, very user friendly. It's pretty much a back and forth thing. Over the air updates is really, really nice. And then, like I said, the ability that you can take a file, use your phone, and then send that file directly to your printer and print it while you're away from home is really, really awesome. And you can even check on the progress of how it's printing. And last I saw, I just updated this to the newest firmware, and it looks like they are still kind of working out the kinks, but it looks like they have added the ability to add a camera onto it. Now, I don't exactly know how that's going to work because there is a standard USB plug and then there is a USB A. So I don't know if there's going to be some way that you can plug into there and utilize a camera with this. But it looks like they are going to have that ability, or if not, they do have that ability. They're just in testing phases right now. So that would be really, really cool to have for like some awesome time lapses. And again, just to kind of monitor your prints, it's almost like having Octopi for your resin printer. So it's really, really cool. Now, the other thing that this printer boasts over most of the printers in its class, i.e. the Elegoo Saturn and the Mono X, is it does not have your standard LED light array like the other two do, or a cob light source. This actually has an integral light source that is taken from the Halot Sky, which, as I've said several times, is literally going to be the future of MSLA machines. It needs to be standardized on all resin printers, and the reason for that is it is a light source that is bounced off of a mirror to reflect an even flow of light. And it is probably the simplest, best design that could possibly happen for resin printing. And it speaks for itself. It is a light source that has even light flow no matter where it is. So, like in the past, we used to have issues where with the cob light source, you used to have some dimming on the edges of the print area. And I know that's a very minimalistic thing to be very nitpicky about, but it was there. So if you were trying to do something that had a full build volume, you would essentially have that possibility of your edges being slightly undercured because there's not enough light to get to those sources. So your print might be good in the center and halfway out, but then when it comes to the edges, it might be a little bit more runny and soft. So it was driving people crazy, like, why can't I get this print to print on the sides, but everything else is good in the middle? So that's kind of what happened with that. Um, and then with the LED style, where it is the matrix style, the issue that we were seeing a lot was the matrix style cuts it up into basically like if you were to cut up brownies, essentially, you would cut them up in a specific squared shape. Okay, that's essentially what would happen with the LED matrix. Is each and every matrix would have a little pot on it, and it would be one right after the other, and then one stacked next to each other, and then there would be a cut in between them because essentially all they were just little pucks seated right next to each other, right behind and right in front. So you would get light bleed from that area that was not having any light source. So again, that is one of the major things that makes this printer stand out over the other two is the integral light source. So if you guys are looking to get into resin printing, this is a fantastic printer. And as I'm speaking about this right now, looking at it, it is on Amazon USA right now for $399. And I've seen that price fluctuate both up and down, more down than I have up. And I'm sure it's just going to keep getting lower and lower with the way that the technology is going and printers are just getting bigger and bigger. It just happens to be that way. But if you guys are looking to get into resin printing and you want a medium sized printer, I'll be honest, this is probably the best bang for your buck. Now, with that being said, I will say update it. Update the printer. Now, there's a caveat to that because as of right now, the reason why the Halot Sky is off screen is I've actually bricked that printer doing an over the air update. Now, I have not had an over the air update issue with this printer yet, but I have heard some people have issues and bricking their printer and basically making it useless with an over the air update. So just be mindful if you guys are going to be doing an update. Creality does also suggest utilizing the USB drive to update this if you need to, which I find funny because they boast about it being super online and having the ability to do this and that remotely and everything, and that's just kind of its crutch, which I think is just hysterical. But hey, it is what it is, and we'll let it be. So, unfortunately, I don't really have too many prints around here because all the ones that I have printed are production parts that I couldn't really show you guys off. So I did set a print before we did this video. Some of you guys may or may not know what it is. I'll try and show it off as best as I can. And yes, I know I'm going to get heat. I do not have gloves on right now, but we're just going to show this really, really quickly. Maybe some of you guys will get this, some of you won't. But that turned out pretty beautifully right there, I must say so myself. So for those who don't know what this is, that is the mask or visor from Geordie LaForge. Now, I'm not a Star Trek nerd in any way, shape, or form, but I've always loved Geordie LaForge's visor. It was always something that I wanted to do. And I had some extra black resin laying around from Inland that I got. So I threw it on there just to see, how it's printing. And I always want to make sure that I print something right after I do an update to make sure that nothing goes wrong with it. Because there is that possibility of updating something. And even though there's several testers that I know are working on doing updates for these style printers, and that's pretty much the Halot's series across the board, there's always that possibility that maybe something happened, especially during an over-the-air update, that something got corrupted, or maybe the file on their end is corrupted, the data transfer happened wrong, whatever it may be, there's always that slight possibility that something got corrupted on there. So, I always like to go in there and double check and test print something right after I do an update. But this one's printing beautifully, just like the Halot, the Halot Plus, the Halot One Plus. We did have some issues printing with this when we first got the printer, but again, it kind of was narrowed down to the firmware or software that was on this printer. And once we started getting some updates on it, it started printing beautifully. And ever since then, it's been printing perfectly fine. We haven't had any failures, any issues with it. One of the things that I do absolutely suggest for pretty much all the Halot series is while they do come with their own slicer, I don't really suggest their slicer. It's it's not the greatest. It's still in very infantile stages. It has gotten much better in a short span of time, but it is still far from what any of the other slicers are out there. I personally am grandfathered into Shitu Box. It's something I've used since I've done 3D printing on resin for 4 or 5 years ago, and I've kind of known that system, and that's something I've stuck with. But I know for a lot of users, they really enjoy Lychee, and I will say that Lychee does provide a lot of updates and a lot of added stuff to it quite often. So they are actively trying to push that slicer. It is a fantastic slicer by itself, but again, I'm just kind of old school. I can't teach a dog, an old dog, new tricks. And, you know, I have Leechy if anybody needs any help with anything. But essentially, my go-to is always going to be Shih-Tzu box. So, um, like I said, if you guys are interested in purchasing this printer, I will leave a link down in the description for our Amazon affiliate link if you guys want to do that. I will also leave a link for the Geordie LaForge file if you guys are interested in printing that. I don't really know how the sizing is going to be, so we might have to reprint again and see how it goes. But hopefully, I don't know, kind of looking at it, just kind of visually, I'm hoping that it's good on the first go. So that'll be really, really nice if it is. But either way, I'll provide that down below. If you guys like the video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that like. Share it out to your friends. Do what you need to do. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Until next time, happy printing.